Morning. Last night in the first half against Croatia, England led twice, threw it away twice, and walked off at 2-2 looking rattled at half time. The opening game of the World Cup looked as if it might be slipping through their fingers. And then something happened in that dressing room because the side that came out for the second half had improved. Bellingham, Rashford, 4-2, job done. Now, afterwards, Harry Kane said that it was like a game of two halves, and Thomas Tuchel had given them a speech. The message: if we're going to lose, lose how we play. 8 words, and it seemed to change everything. So today I want to talk about the most mysterious 15 minutes in football, the half-time talk. Why it works, why it usually doesn't, and what science actually says about the moment behind the dressing room door. Okay, here's the first thing that might surprise you: the dramatic turnaround because of a half-time talk. It's rare, genuinely rare. In the Premier League, the team that's ahead at half-time goes on to win something like 3 times out of 4. The scoreline at the break usually sticks. So when a manager does turn it around, it feels like magic, which is exactly why we remember them. No turnaround is more famous than Istanbul in 2005. Champions League final, Liverpool 3-0 down to AC Milan at half-time, dead and buried, and they came back to win it on penalties. 3 goals in 6 second-half minutes. Now, the legend says that Rafa Benitez delivered the speech of his life. The truth is more interesting. Benitez has admitted he didn't really believe they could win. He was worried about losing by 5 or 6. What he actually did was stay calm, tell them to score early and make a tactical switch, bringing on Didi Hamann and changing the shape. The myth is the rousing speech. The reality was a clipboard and a substitution. Of course, some managers built a whole career on the dressing room moment. So Alex Ferguson and the famous hairdryer, standing nose to nose, blasting away. Except Ferguson himself said he only really used it a handful of times in 27 years. The art wasn't the shouting, it was the knowing when. Then there's the genius of the small touch. Jose Mourinho once let the team masseur, a Scotsman named Billy, give the team talk before beating Manchester City. Mourinho said he was screaming so much in Scottish, I didn't understand a word, but the players were clapping. And my personal favourite, Sir Alf Ramsey, 1966 World Cup final, just as Germany have equalised in the dying seconds, Ramsey turns to his exhausting players and says, "You've won it once, now go out and win it again." And they did. But for every triumph, there's a catastrophe. Phil Brown, Hull City, 2008, 4-0 down at Manchester City. So furious, he sat his players on the pitch and gave them their half-time talk in front of the fans, a public humiliation. Or Leyton Orient, where the coach was caught on camera sacking a player at half-time and offering to fight 2 others. And you can bring your dinner, he told them. They lost anyway. He was gone by the end of the season. So what does the research actually say? Well, this is where it gets fascinating, because a man called Eamon Devlin did the world's first PhD on football half-times at Leeds Beckett University, and his findings are quite brutal. The average half-time talk lasts 5.5 minutes. Devlin's advice: cut it to 60 seconds, because in his words, coaches lose people by just blasting them with information. Players zone out. When he interviewed elite players, they described teams' talks as mundane, repetitive and forgettable. One said his manager's talks were like a podcast I didn't subscribe to, just noise. Research into professional coaches found they spend most of half-time criticising and giving tactical instructions, firing out a new point every 30 seconds. But players remember almost none of it. One study found they retained about 6%. There's even biology at play. Your muscles cool by up to 2 degrees during the break, which is why teams so often concede right after half-time. Sometimes it's not the words that lose the game, it's the sitting still. So here's the truth about the team talk. The hairdryer is dying out. The future belongs to the managers who say less. Calm, short, clear. Give the players a moment to breathe, then one idea to cling to. Which brings us back to Tuchel. If we're going to lose, lose how we play. No tactics lecture, no screaming, just one clear thought that took the fear away. 8 words. And a perfect reminder that in football, the most powerful thing a manager can do at half-time is know exactly what not to say.